Said that. I've said that over and over and over again. I don't know how I can make myself even clearer. But come on, man. Like Klay Thompson in his last 5 games, and this is where 5 of his 11 full seasons, he's come out of the gate struggling, right? But you look at what he's doing in his last 5 games, playing 31 minutes a game. And I'm not even trying to cape for Klay because I know the defense is it's not even okay. The defense is bad, but this whole team is bad defensively.
The whole
team.
I agree.
Klay's giving you 19 points a game and 4 rebounds over his last 5, and he's shooting 42.5% from the three-point line. That sucks now? We're gonna scoff at that? That sucks? And his field goal attempts are down. He usually attempts 18 to 19 field goals a game. Well, he's down to 14 attempts in the last 5, and overall on the season, he's down. His three-point attempts are down by 4. So what do you want? He sacrificed shots, he's been discerning, and he's trying to fight through it. Wiggins ain't showed up all year long until last night. But let's go ahead and play the blame Klay game. That's fine. If that's what y'all want to do this morning, we'll go ahead and do it. Anthony Slater, here on the Morning Roast. It is a Warriors Wednesday, brought to you by Freeman's Appliance, a trusted name since 1922. Visit freemansappliance.com today. Anthony Slater, if you can't tell, it's a bit spicy here on the Morning Roast this morning after the Warriors blew a 24-point lead. Last time they blew a lead like this on the road, 20-plus points. It was New Year's Day, 2011, against the Miami Heat. It's been a while.
Darrell Wright was the leading scorer.
And you saw it coming. Anthony, your big takeaway.
I expected it to be fired up this morning, and I'm not being disappointed early on. My big takeaway, that was a meltdown. I mean, that was like the worst night of the season so far. Just a lot is going wrong, and honestly, bigger picture, toughest part of the night for them is 2 of their most important rotation players got hurt.
100%.
Yeah.
I understand why we're talking about other things, but like Gary Payton has a calf injury that is being, they're trying to figure out the severity of it today, but it did not look good. And the Chris Paul injury is still a little bit unknown as well. So that's a problem.
That is a problem. What did they say? Did they hint at anything with GP2? Because it looked bad. I thought immediately when he limped off the floor, I thought of Kevin Durant of 2019 in the Western Conference semifinals against the Houston Rockets in a non-contact injury, although he grabbed the upper part of his right calf. What did you think when you saw it in real time?
Yeah, look, calf injury, and then they labeled it as a calf injury, and it, you got to figure out grade 1, grade 2, what the severity of it is. But typically, and this goes for all the sports, you guys know, when you leave with a muscle, injury like that, and can't even really put weight on it or don't want to put weight on it as you limp off to the locker room, usually you don't see the guy for a little bit. Again, we'll see. We'll probably get some type of more firmer information today. But, at this point, I'd expect him to miss time.
I mean, yeah, it feels like he is. And he was playing so good in that game. And like CP3, I think at the beginning of this year, I didn't have CP3 being the second best Warrior in terms of collectively through the first, 20 games or so. And now they're missing him. How long do you think he's out?
Yeah, that one's a little bit more unknown. They kind of went hockey style and, lower left leg soreness. I think they're trying to solve that one. They're being very vague on it. It's way too speculative and early for me to wonder, his absence. They didn't seem to know. He didn't really seem to know last night. So that'll probably be figured out over the next 24, 48 hours.
So the Warriors are the 3rd worst team in the league when it comes to fouls per game. Average over 22 fouls per game. 22 fouls. Kevin Durant said it last Wednesday, and everybody kind of missed it. Kevin Durant said, this is what they do. They hack. And that's the product of a team that is older, slower, doesn't have a lot of perimeter defenders, and guys are dribble drive penetrating, getting 2 feet in paint, kicking out for drives and wide open threes or whatnot. So they started fouling yesterday, and you add the turnovers to it. To me, that's where the game flipped. We'll get the crunch time of whether or not Moody should have played, and I think he should have, but the fouling problem. Anthony, that's not going away.
Hill stat. You want a Bonte Hill stat?
Give me a Bonte Hill stat.
I got it from one of our kind of research guys last night. I put it in my post-game story that's up now. First team since 2014 to give up 40 free throws to an opponent and turn it over 20 times in the same game last night.
We're elite.
Steve Kerr said at post game, that's all they talked about entering the season. Got to clean up the fouls. Got to turn it over less. That's why they went and got Chris Paul. That's why they went and got Corey Joseph.
Oh my gosh.
Corey Joseph.
And
I like Corey. He's a good dude.
yeah, he's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
But is he a good basketball player currently?
I mean, it's tough for me to.
I mean, he's fine. Look, if he's your 11th, 12th man, if he has to play spot minutes, like let me tell you, Corey Joseph was not the problem last night.
No, I know, but
what was the problem other than that? Other than
well, let's get into it. No, I want to get right into it. Here's we're watching the game. We're all watching it, and we're like, oh. Someone other than Steph is actually hitting, in rhythm shots in the second half. His name's Moses Moody. He even hit 2 shots that didn't even count on the crash and dash or whatever they call that, where the guy tried to get the flop play. And I'm like, why is he coming out of this game? Now, I said to B, it could have been for Klay, it could have been for Looney or Draymond.
I thought it should have been for Klay.
Whatever.
I thought it should have been for Klay, since everybody doesn't want to listen to me and not listen to the words. And I'm saying it should have been for Klay Thompson, because Klay Thompson struggled in the second half. I got my 17-20 from Klay. I'm good.
Moody should have stayed in the game. And it's kind of driving me crazy. And I'm listening to Steve Kerr at the podium, and he's like, well, Wiggins was going to come in. And everyone collectively is thinking, we weren't even talking about Wiggins. We're talking about one of those other 3 guys, Draymond, who had lost his emotional composure, Looney, or Klay. What did you think?
I mean, I thought he kind of indicated that it would have been Klay had he made the move, and he said he thought about it, because after he said, well, Wiggins had to come in to guard Fox, and then we wanted to stay with Klay, and then he said, and the other veteran. So just the fact that Klay was named, I think, indicates that would have been the direction they would leaned. My take on it is he said, so pregame we were talking to him, and this felt like an important moment for them, right? They're getting Draymond back. They were going to have their full rotation. It obviously felt like a pivot point. They had 2 days of good practice coming in, and he said he wanted that starting lineup that they still believe is one of the best 5-man units in basketball to start the game well and just kind of stabilize them. And my read on it is I think he just felt that it would have been a good signal for what they were going to be if that team started the game well, which they did, and then closed it, right? Go to your trusted veterans, your championship veterans to close it. It was the incorrect decision. You can definitely say now not to stick with the hottest player on the floor. But I remember thinking when Andrew Wiggins tips the ball in with 58 seconds left, this still, besides the injuries, which we already talked about, this still kind of reads as a nice script for them for the game, right? Moody gave them really good burst minutes to keep minute in the fourth, and then the veterans closed. Problem for them, veterans melted down. 2 of the worst turnovers you can see, lost a 5-point lead in the last 50 seconds. And then you can shine the spotlight and go, I don't know if they may still have those turnovers if Moses Moody's out there, because he's not the one handling the ball and getting those turnovers. But it does kind of shine the spotlight on the bigger picture issue right now, which is some of these young guys are pushing for more minutes, and the veterans who are struggling are kind of blocking their way, and it's getting a little bit more awkward.
So 5-point lead they had with 50 seconds left, and they blow it. The Draymond Green turnover. I mean, let's blame Klay for that. We'll get to that in a second. But Moses Moody, how's he feeling this morning? Because he's in his 3rd year, and he stays ready. And Steve Kerr, you remember this, Anthony, he said in training camp that the closing lineup will be a feel thing. Who's rolling, the flow of the game. And it feels like Steve Kerr went back on his word last night with the veterans. So will things shake up here with the Warriors losing 8 of their last 10? What do you think will happen in the future, the next 2 weeks with this team?
Well, no. If there's no Peyton, if there's no Paul for any amount of time, I mean, the rotation gets readjusted. It was wild, and it was kind of lost in Steve Kerr's answer last night, which I don't think made the fan base too happy. Moses Moody was out of the rotation.
He was.
During the game last night. He wasn't even going to play if they had the kind of the full complement. Obviously, you'll see him. Maybe you see Pajemski again. He was, by the way, got a DNP last night. It's mix and match. I mean, the fact that they've had guys in and out has, I guess made the experimentation a little difficult. But I agree with you. I remember early in the season, right? Remember, he didn't close with Wiggins 3 out of the first 4 games. It was Peyton. It was Kuminga closed a couple times, and that did feel like an early statement that meritocracy, whatever you want to call it. It would have read that you would have closed with Moody last night. I don't know. I just think it's become so destabilized that maybe he felt it. Again, I read it last night as him trying to say, I want my veterans to close this game so that when we go to the locker room post game, it feels like the right script for who they are. It was going to be a statement of my championship veterans closed the game in Sacramento. They didn't, though. And so maybe this does make them readjust plans again. I don't know. Like, to be honest with you, I don't think it's a guess from all three of us. If we, like, let's say they're playing the Clippers Thursday night and it's a similar situation. Who do you guys think he goes with?
I think he's going to go with the old guys.
Well, because he always does. That's what I wanted to ask you, Anthony, here. You talk about stabilized and stabilization and all that. Is Klay Thompson, after what you saw at shoot-around Monday afternoon, is Klay Thompson mentally stable enough to handle being benched down the stretch of a basketball game?
I think singularly, yes. I mean, again, I think if suddenly you wanted to make him a 20-minute per night bench player at this stage of his career, obviously, with the contract season, looming over everything, that would be difficult. But yeah, he's gonna. All these guys, like Andrew Wiggins, took it the first 3 out of the first 4 games, and I remember talking to him in Houston, and his answer when he was benched again in crunch time was, "I got to be better. I got to rebound better. I got to do more to make them have me on the floor." That was the same night that Chris Paul, for the first time in his 19-year career, accepted a bench role for a team, and then basically was like, "Look, I'm just doing what I have to do to win." And they talked about having a meeting with the 6 guys, these 6 veterans who all viewed themselves as starters and closers before the season, and they all kind of agreed, it would be kind of a night-to-night thing. Now that 6 has become like 8, 9, 10 with the way the team is materialized. But to answer your question, like, he needs to be able to accept certain nights not closing. Again, I think that's a lot different than, hey, Klay, you're like now, an 18-minute per night guy.
I don't know. Something's got to give here. Whether it's personnel-wise, emotion-wise, just something's got to give. And then there's Draymond, as I talk emotions. He was unbelievable for like 2 quarters in this game. And then the 4th quarter, he was completely unhinged and couldn't control his emotions. Another big reason why this team lost their cool. I mean, I know we got a bunch of callers here waiting to talk about Draymond and Klay Thompson and everybody on here, but Draymond Green, he was a big part of why they lost emotional control last night.
Yeah. It's weird because I do agree that like the actual technical was soft. Steph Curry called it dumb post game where he was just kind of doing the carry violation. But there was like an extended argument with the referee for like 3 minutes before that when he had kind of like Trey Lyles like might have nudged him with the elbow and he obviously kind of took a dive. And then he just like riled up an arena that was like kind of like quiet. And I don't want to say quiet, but like, the Kings were getting pounded most of the night. And when he did that thing with Lyles and then got into it with the referees, it kind of like jolted the arena, which jolts the home team typically. And then, he does the carry violation. And then even after that, as Steph's kind of pulling him away, as Steve Kerr's almost like telling Steph, like, hey, like calm things out there. Remember who was it? Malik Monk, he pressed out to half court.
Yeah, and he hacked him.
Has a foul, and then he stares at the ref, and then, Kerr goes to Looney, right? He pulls, like, he needs to kind of settle the situation. Draymond Green comes over to the bench. He's talking with one of the assistant coaches behind the bench. He has to go, he goes to the back, for whatever reason, for a couple minutes. He comes back, and, like, I actually think he played pretty well, right? He had that. I thought he had some really nice defensive moments. He had 2 threes in the first half. Like, he's playing pretty well, but, again, last night you did feel like, he shifted the emotion of the game, and it ended up, in retrospect, a bad shift, towards the Kings instead of away. And I don't know, say what you want about it. Obviously, we'll probably have another conversation like this in a couple weeks.
Yeah, maybe next week, Anthony. Last one before we get you out here. Andrew Wiggins, there was a report yesterday that the Warriors were unhappy with his physical conditioning. They weren't happy with the way he attacked training camp and how he wasn't necessarily in the best shape. Well, he came out yesterday like gangbusters. What do you know about that report? What do you know about the Warriors feeling on Andrew Wiggins? Because if they want to go anywhere this season, he's got to be one of their top 3 players.
Yeah, I'll just say this about Wiggins offseason. I think we've talked about this. He broke his ribs in Game 5 in the second round against the Lakers. That was a significant injury. There was a lot of, they felt really proud of Andrew Wiggins after Game 6 in Staples Center. I can remember talking to everyone that he even tried to play with an injury that their medical team had categorized as a 6 to 8 week injury, a 2-month absence. If it was like a normal regular season, he played with a flak jacket on and was like taking LeBron post up basically in Game 6. And I remember chatting, the season's over. He's walking out of the arena that night, and he's like, yeah, it's like, probably like 2 months. Like, that was a recovery for him. Like, part of the reason he didn't work much in the offseason is because he couldn't really, like, broken ribs.
But then why didn't they say that out loud?
Well, I mean, what do you, like, it happened. Like, that was part of why he wasn't on the court much this offseason. And then he does, like, he came into camp. He didn't look in the greatest rhythm and conditioning. That was pretty obvious, right? The first, really in preseason into the first couple months. I thought what was worse was his dribble and his shot. We've talked about this. I mean, it's kind of the worst offensive stretch of his career because he's always been a scorer. I thought by maybe game 8, game 10, he really picked up his activity level defensively and on the glass. The shot didn't come around until recently, but obviously he had the breakout against the Thunder. He had 29 last night. I think he's been pretty good for the last week, 10 days. I thought he had the biggest play of the game last night for a second, which was that tip-in, right? That flying tip-in. That felt like Wiggins from the playoffs. He had big plays like that. And that was going to be one of the stories of the game. And then, of course, they melt down in the final 50 seconds. But I think he is very much, in my opinion, trending in the right direction. I think he looks a lot better from a rhythm conditioning standpoint.
Well, the percentages are going up, 39.5% in October from the floor, 44% in November. In October for the three-point line, he shot 18%. He's shooting 28.6% in the month of November from the three-point line, and the points are up 3 points per game. So he is trending in the right direction, but they just need a little more. And the Warriors pull a 24-point lead. Sacramento advances in the in-season tournament to the knockout stage. What a game last night to go to one center. And boy, it is doom and gloom down here in the Bay Area. Anthony, stay away until tomorrow when we see you at Chase Center for the Warriors and Clippers.
Hey, I will say one piece of good news to emerge for the Warriors last night. They had to restructure the schedule, right, with this tournament. They get the Blazers at home next Wednesday. That's pretty favorable from the league.
Can we call anything a gimme right now with the Warriors?
I mean, I don't. If you don't get that one, all right. Well, I think I might be on the morning after that game.
Yeah, you might be. You might be. I thought you were going to say. Hey, I thought you were going to say we get 3 days off. Monday, Tuesday, and Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
By the way, I think that's like 3 straight weekends we're going to get that. Saturday, Sunday. That was great. That part is good news for me. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that either, Anthony. I'm not mad at that either.
All right, buddy.
Hey, man, you're too kind for us, man. Thanks so much, man. NBA Insider here at 95.7 The Game, Anthony Slater on the Morning Roast.